everybody, and welcome to Mirrorless Monday here on the Eat Sleep List YouTube channel. My name is Matt Johnson, your host, and today I want to follow up on a video that we did a couple of weeks ago, the accountability list. But this time I want to look at the things that we shouldn't be accountable for, that we aren't actually accountable for. We're going to be talking about things that are not our problem. Let's make a list. So at first glance, the name of this video, and more specifically the name of this list, the Not My Problem list, it is comes off very, very harsh. It comes off very selfish, very self-servant, and in some instances quite ignorant. But the truth is, it's a harsh truth. It is a brutal truth that a lot of people need to realize, is that we are not responsible for everybody else's problems, and other people are not responsible for our own problems. We live in a very emotional world where if an individual that looks a certain way or thinks a certain way does something horrendous and bad, the emotional reaction is to point the finger at people who look, talk, think like said individual. All right, and there's some individual responsibility that is blamed, but the immediate finger pointing is to a group. Everybody who looks like this or thinks like this, you're part of the problem. And that's simply not true. That is a overly emotional reaction to things. We need to start thinking logically. All right, taking things logically. If we hear something, think logically and take individual accountability. Point the finger at the individual for their mistake instead of groups of people. Because this overly emotional mindset is why that there's so much finger pointing. The blame game is never ending in this social life that we have, in the social topics, that we are always blaming somebody else or groups of other people. And it's why we're in the state that we are in. I wanted to follow up the accountability list from a couple of weeks ago because, I thought it was one of my favorite episodes, one of my better episodes, is taking ownership over the things that we've said and done in order to help ourselves grow. But there's a lot of people who can't grow as people because they are overly accountable and they are taking accountability for other people's actions. They are carrying everybody else's burdens and the weight of the world on their own shoulders. And it's just not healthy. It's not healthy. It's kind. It's nice that you want to fix everybody else's problems, but the truth is that we can't. We can lead horses to water, but we cannot make them drink. If people cannot take self-accountability and grow themselves, it's on them, and it sounds sad and horrible, but it's a fact. I know a lot of good people who have stressed themselves out, have given themselves anxiety and burned themselves out, trying to help other people become better versions of themselves. All right, lending people money who, instead of taking ownership and accountability over their financial situation, expect money to be given to them, and they never grow as people. There's a lot of instances of that in this world, and that's what the top 10 list today is going to be about, is things that are just not our problem. Again, it's sad. But it's an issue that a lot of people deal with. I see a lot of people burning themselves out because they can't, they're trying to fix everybody else's problem. And all of us are broken. A lot of us are broken people, and broken people can't save broken people. We got to fix ourselves before we can even really, truly make a difference in this world. All right? It's take care of our own house before we can clean others' houses. There's a lot of different metaphors I can use here, but it is the way it is. And it's not a bad thing to want to take care of yourself before others. No matter how much people try to make it seem like it's a bad thing, Man, imagine how much good we could all do if we took care of ourselves first, and then we can pick each other up. Our world would be a lot different if we did that. If we all shared that if we all had individual accountability for things instead of trying to be accountable for everybody else, life would be a lot much simpler. Life would be a lot better if we did that, and we would grow and thrive, and as a society, it would be so much better. When I took up Stoic philosophy, which I've talked about a lot recently, and realizing this sort of thing, like, it was hard. Like, it was hard to, like, stomach that, wow, maybe I'm being too generous. And there are examples of this in my own life where I am overly generous, and it sounds arrogant, it sounds selfish, it sounds harsh and slightly ignorant. But, like, podcasting, something that I've loved doing, I was stressing myself out trying to do too much for others, helping them take care of their shows and doing the little things to make their shows better for them instead of them taking ownership of their specific podcasts. I've stretched myself out trying to help others make weight when they were not doing the work. They were not holding up their end of the bargain. And it drove me nuts that I could not, that I wasn't making a difference. But it wasn't my fault. I was doing all that I could. That accountability lays on said individual. Financial stuff. There was a guy that I worked with at a retail job. It was my second job. And he wanted a better quality of life. So I stuck my neck out for him. At my factory job, I tried to get him in. I tried to get an interview and try to help him get a much better paying job. But when the time came, when the phone call was made for him to go to his interview, he politely declined. And I did all that I could. I had to realize that I did all that I can do. It's on you. I try to help you out, but I try to lead you to the water, but you decided not to drink. So I have a very hard time sticking my neck out there for other people because I've been let down by that a lot. I realize that I have to take care of myself, that I am my number one priority. And if I'm not taking care of myself, if I'm burning myself out, then I'm useless to other people. If I'm not in a right mental frame of mind, I cannot help people. All right? I cannot be good to people. So we all got to start to work on ourselves before we help others. And again, it's a kind gesture to do so. It's a kind gesture to give every effort that we possibly can. But we have to do it within reason, making ourselves the number one priority. So every time that we do a list like this, especially something super reflective for Mirror List Monday, where we have to look at ourselves in the mirror, this is the best piece of advice I can give you, is learn to control what you can control. You cannot control other people's actions. You cannot control other people's emotions and their motivations. Maybe you can inspire, but you cannot control it. It is always best to handle your own business. Learn to control what you can control. If we're going through hard times, it is best to tackle that struggle, that hard time, head on. All right? I say this as somebody who's been bailed out by very loving parents more times than I can count, more times than I actually deserve. As great, and I'm super grateful for the times that they have saved me over the years. It prevented me from growing as a person. And if we are carrying everybody else's burdens, if we are carrying everybody else's problems and making them into our own, and trying to fix them, we are cheating somebody out of a growing opportunity, whether they realize it or not. We are stealing an opportunity for growth from people. And some people have to have that hard truth. You have to have life punch you in the face before you react accordingly and grow and be a better version of yourself. So, like, if you want to help people, great. It's morally, it's awesome that you can do it. But don't do it at your own expense. Don't do it at other people's expenses. All right, let people navigate life. And like, this is something I'm dealing with as a parent right now, where I got to learn the balance of how protective should I be and how much should I let my son grow on his own. Small example. It's very different from the not my, it's a lot smaller compared to the big picture of this topic, but my son, learning to crawl. Once the weather got nice outside, he was crawling around in the grass. And then he learned to crawl. He was crawling on the sidewalk within our yard. And after realizing that his legs hurt, all right, his knees hurt from crawling on the sidewalk, he decided to bear crawl over the sidewalk so his knees wouldn't touch. Now, I could have, every time he went to crawl on the sidewalk, picked him up, and he would have continuously tried to crawl on the sidewalk, and I would have continuously tried to pick him up. But because I let him struggle, because I let him feel pain in crawling on a sidewalk, it makes my knees hurt just thinking about that. He learned, he adapted, he grew. All right, and again, this is a much smaller example of the big picture of life, of what I'm trying to get through to you. But struggle can turn into success with the right mindset. If you struggle, you can turn this around into your greatest successes. We see so many professional athletes who came from nothing, who came from broken homes and bad neighborhoods, and turned their sadness, their pain, into millions of dollars and playing at the highest stage in professional sports. We see artists, musicians who came from nothing, who found peace from their struggles in music, and felt like that music or drawing or paint or some means of art, and turned their pain, their hard experiences, and utilize it to become something more, become famous, and earn a very good living for themselves. It's okay to let people experience these things. It's okay to let them have these moments where they can grow. All right, we don't have to cover and protect everybody. It's nice to help. The thought is nice. But again, you are cheating people out of growth opportunities when we cover for everybody else's problems. All right, everybody, my favorite part of every single video that we do, it's the list. All right, making our top 10 list. As always, feel free to comment your picks, whether it's a couple of them or a full top 10 list. Feel free to use the comments form, or feel free to use the email address, eatsleeplistpod@gmail.com. That's in the description below, and it's got to scroll down a little bit, and feel free. The email inbox is always open and available to you if you want to discuss anything. These are the top 10 things that I've had to realize are not my problem, whether mostly through painful lessons, all right, mostly through failure and just disappointment that I've had to recognize. And some of these there's a personal touch, but a lot of them are just generalizations. All right, there are things that I've personally experienced, very specific things that I've experienced that I needed to wake up and realize. But there's also a very general list of things that people should be aware of that are not our responsibility to carry the emotional burden if we don't choose to. All right, here we go. Top 10 things that are not my problem. All right, my number 10. It is the success or failure of sports teams. Okay? We get very wrapped up as human beings and as sports enthusiasts of how well our team does or how bad our specific team does. I used to put a lot of an emotional stock in my football team, in my Indianapolis Colts. I did. 2020 was bad. I've talked about it on this show before, but I put so much emotional stock. There was a playoff game between the Colts and the Bills, and it was emotional because I'm like one of the only few Colts fans here in Western New York, and I live in a very rabid home of Bills Mafia. They're very passionate and very great fans. And at the time, like any flack towards the Colts, I took it personally. When in all reality is like I just root for the team. I am not the team. There is nothing that I can do on game day that affects the results of the game that my team plays in. And like now, they'll do the, hey, your boys did this or your team did this, and I'm just like, I don't play for them. Like, good for them. It was a weird mindset to like kind of change because growing up, like we associate ourselves. That's our team. That's my team. We did this. When in all actuality, the only people that really did anything were coaches and players, letting them be responsible for specific game actions. When the Colts suck, that's their problem. When the Colts do good, yeah, it's fun to see them do well, but they earned that. All right, they earned that right. My happiness in life should not be determined by other people's actions. All right, and my misery shouldn't be determined by other people's actions, and that goes for sports teams. I had to realize that. I had to recognize that. After 2021, the Colts, their disappointing Clown Town loss to the Jaguars, I had to sit back and realize, like, this is not, like, I can't attach myself to this team emotionally like a rabid fanatic like I used to be. I just can't, because I will be miserable all the time. I will choose to be miserable because this team is not good. This team stinks. And I don't want to bear the burden of the team's wins or losses. I guess that's part of being a fan is having that emotional attachment to them. But I don't know. I always felt gross about making somebody feel bad because their favorite team loses something. Like I don't know. People have done it to me. I hate it. And I used to reciprocate it. And it's just this never-ending blame game, this finger pointing. But as I've grown older and wiser and more aware, I realize that I can't operate like that anymore. So, yes, while I do, that is my favorite football team, the Indianapolis Colts. Whatever happens, happens. I had to recognize that. So that's my number 10. Number 9, this has been a problem. I've talked about this before, but quite a bit, but giving rides to people who choose not to drive. Okay? I don't know where this entitlement comes from of people who do not drive cars, of people who choose not to drive, this entitlement over other people's time and essentially their vehicles, their property, something that they earned, that they pay for on a continuous basis. Ever since I got my car, my first car in 2009, people have, like, it's weird. You get it, and people gravitate towards you. All of a sudden, you become a taxi driver for a lot of people. And there's been a couple times where I had to nip that shit in the bud because they were not giving me gas money. And again, they came to expect it. A ride every now and then is nice, right? If you can help somebody out. But when giving people, like, going out of your way to do this favor constantly, when it becomes expected, it is dangerous. And I've had to cut a couple people off. And it's like, it is not my problem that you chose not to learn how to drive, or you chose not to get a driver's license, or you chose not to make a decision to get a car. It sucks. Like, again, it's hard. Like, it's nice to give people a lift, give people a ride in your vehicle to help them get to where they have to go. But when it is a all the time thing, it stinks. Like I told the story before, but there was a kid I hung out with 15 years ago that used to ask for rides 20, 25 minutes away from where I was living at. And I did it a couple of times until I finally, like, he asked me to do it on, like, the night of the Super Bowl. And I was like, this ain't happening. I'm not doing this. I'm not leaving this function to go pick you up half an hour away on a school night at that. I felt bad emotionally, but realistically, I shouldn't have. This was a teachable moment. One, for this individual to prepare better. All right. Don't ask me last minute for a ride someplace 25 minutes away, half an hour away at the last possible minute. And two, step your own game up. Learn to drive. All right. I've dealt with a lot of people like that. But it is not my issue. If I'm feeling generous, I will do it. But once it becomes expected, then we got to nip that in the bud. Number 8, other people's reactions to our actions. The accountability factor is, yes, we don't, do things that we don't want to hurt others. But also, like, I'm around a lot of people who try this, like, emotional manipulation deal. I'm trying to live my life. I'm trying to do things that, like, I want to do. I'm trying to live the life that I want to. It gives me the most amount of peace. And when you're around emotional, controlling people, if you do something that doesn't fit their narrative, they tend to let you know about it. And it sucks. It sucks, but like, it's not my fault. You're like, and it's gonna bleed into another one that we do, but like, think about this. It is a choice to be offended by everything. All right, I've said this before on the show too, but it's another important lesson. If you are offended by somebody's action, you really have to be a miserable person to find offense in everybody's, like, things people say, things people do all the time. I used to have this emotional control, and this is why a lot of my friendships, kind of ended as rough, because they were my friends, and I thought that we had a different kind of relationship. So when they did something that felt out of pocket or out of line, I took it personally. When in all honesty, they didn't owe me anything. Yeah, they're my friends, but I didn't have control over their actions or control over the things that they said or did. Their time is their time to spend it. And this ownership over people's time and stuff is weird. But like, if we do something for ourselves, we shouldn't have to hear how selfish it is, right? Like, if I stay and take up a bunch of overtime for money's sake, I shouldn't have to, like, hear people complain that I'm spending too much time working. I know a lot of people who are hard to please. Either I'm not making enough money or I'm spending too much time at work. Like, what do you want? All right, I'm not going to please you, so therefore your reaction to my action of working is irrelevant now, because you cannot be happy. Because you just, like, you feel the need to react a certain way to things that I choose to do. And it's important to that. Obviously, you don't want to go out of your way to be an asshole, but if you're doing things that are not really affecting other people, and you're actually, like, trying to benefit your own life, and people, like, get upset because you are trying to do something more, screw that. Like, that's your problem. Your reaction to that is not your problem. I have given up a lot because of other people's emotional reactions. I have settled because of other people, because I listen to other people's reactions and emotions and their thoughts and feelings on stuff. I have just settled in life, right? These high goals I had for myself, these high expectations I had for myself, and listening to other people's thoughts and feelings on them when they were irrelevant to what I was feeling about my actions. Like, I know it sounds kind of chaotic, but this is something that I'm not responsible for. All right? People will just, no matter what you do, they will not be happy. And it's not your problem. So that's my number 8. Number 7, we're not responsible for the way that other people treat us. Some people, sometimes we see people like treat us harshly, and we like conform to try and like ease like the pain, the what they say to us. Like we try to burden that, and I've lost myself trying to make other people happy because they treat you bad, and no matter what you do, they're never going to be happy. Other people's actions, and we're going to delve into that a little bit more too, but other people's actions are just like towards us are not our responsibility. We have no control over that. The way people talk to us, talk about us, affect us, like it's not our problem. The accountability part is to remove ourselves from those people, but we have no control over what other people say and do to us. You could fight back and do that. I just tend to just cut people off, when I can. But, the way the other people treat us is not our responsibility. Let them be miserable. Let them talk bad about you. Let them say bad. As long as they're not physically harming you, let them. Just let them and be miserable in their own way. Because who cares? Just go sit and stew in your misery. That's my number 7. Number 6 is other people's expectations of us. Have you ever like had a conversation with someone and they go, I expected so much more out of you? I have. A lot. By a lot of people who I love and care dearly for. Those expectations, what they expected out of us is not our problem. It is their issue. It is their choice to have expectations of us. Because if you set expectations for everything, you're going to be disappointed. All right, if you put expectations on people, you are going to be disappointed 10 times out of 10. All right, it's important to just kind of let people be who they are, and not like expect them to be a certain way. Expectations means control, or a thought of control. And like if they don't fit that expectation, if they don't fit that narrative, problems tend to arise. So other people's expectations of me and what they want me to be, this vision that they have for me, are not my problem. I had a vision for me, and I conformed. Like that's my accountability part. Like I listened, and I took it on the chin when somebody told me they were disappointed in me for whatever reason. But other people's expectations of me are, and of you, are not your problem. Your expectations of you are your problem. But you can't let other people's thoughts, feelings, and I don't know, just mindset towards what they want you to be. Like you're not. If you listen to that, you are not free. You are legitimately a slave to their mentality. To what they think, and you will never. You'll lose yourself. You'll lose yourself. I know a lot of people who have lost themselves along the way trying to fit other people's expectations of them, and it sucks. It's hard to watch. It's hard to do it and live through it. I've lived through it, so recognize that. My number 5, the environments that we are in. Some people. Again, pro athletes who come from broken homes and bad neighborhoods, they didn't have a choice in the environment that they were in. But they rose above it and went on to do great things. Your work environment, the people that you are like working around, if they are doing bad stuff, doesn't mean you have to do bad stuff too. That's their problem, right? If they jumped off a cliff, would you do it? Would you follow them or that metaphor, analogy? You don't have to follow along with it. Again, we all have different environments that we are around, that we are brought up in, and we have no control over that kind of environment. We have control if we decide to leave said environment. Like that's the accountable part, but it's very difficult to change an environment for what it is. Sometimes broken homes are going to stay broken forever, no matter what you do. Sometimes bad neighborhoods are going to stay bad no matter what you do. Sometimes bad, toxic workplaces, the coworkers that you are with, they are going to be bad no matter what you do. And you just have to accept it and thrive in it. Find a way to thrive in it without losing yourself too. I talked about how a couple months ago, several months ago, actually, when I first started the podcast, that my then boss, my then manager, who was I found to be a great human being, but just a nauseating person to work for. And their negativity like broke me. And it wasn't just their negativity, but other people's negativity around it that broke me. And I became something that I didn't even recognize. I became a negative, miserable person. I allowed that to happen. That's the accountability part. I didn't have, I could have removed myself from that environment, from the people that were present, but I didn't, and I suffered for it. And that's the accountability part. I can't change other people and how they vibe. I can only do so much. That's my number 5. And it kind of bleeds into my number 4, like other people's emotional state. All right. I can't control how angry and negative people are. I can make comments, I can respond and with their negativity with some kind of positivity, but people who choose to be negative are going to be negative no matter what. Until they break that habit, I cannot control how other people see themselves or see the world. That is not my responsibility to do so. Again, we live in a very emotional world. All right. People overly emotional all the time. You see it in social media posts where these people have, or folks have just these overly emotional reactions to everything. And they say like outlandish stuff. And it's just like, what? What are you saying? That's on you. That's on you. Just because you say it and think it doesn't mean I got to believe it. That is not my problem. I can't control it. So moving on. All right. My number 3, it's stereotypes. We are not responsible for other people's stereotypes of us. That is their problem. Although I do take accountability for who I was, for what I've done, for the things I've said, and I've owned that time and time again. I can only apologize so much for who I used to be. There are still some people who view me, 34-year-old me, as 18-year-old me, or 23-year-old me, or 30-year-old me. I'm a vastly different human being than I was 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. I've grown a lot. I've made mistakes. I've learned from them. If you still think of me as high school Matt, that is your problem. If you still think of me as the early adulthood, like mid-20s Matt, that's your problem, not I. I can only do so much. I've owned it. I will apologize to you for who I was, but if you can't look past that, that is not my problem. There's also like group stereotyping that I don't like. There's racial stereotyping. There's the religious stereotyping. There's a lot, and I'm gonna be honest. It's a hard thing to talk about, but like there's this like social term of, and I'm only speaking this because it's something that I have heard, and it's something that I can speak on, is like white guilt for certain things. And there's stuff that I never did. Like I never said certain things, or I never wronged somebody individually in a certain way that I shouldn't have to take accountability for. All right? Like, don't do that. And it works for all sorts of things. Like, people view African Americans, there's a stereotype, there's very vicious stereotypes of African Americans. And it's not true. It's not true. There's Islam is another religion Christianity, Christians, Jews, like all the different religions in the world, there's like this negative stereotype about each and every one of them. And it's like, it's hard because people will not give you a chance before they get to know you. It's their problem. You know, it's not my problem that people will view me this way, that this stereotype is bestowed upon me. But it's hard when you're taught to come together, when you want to come together with people and they can't look past stereotypes, prejudice, and amongst other things. It's hard, but again, not your problem. Individuals, all right, treating people as individuals who are responsible for their individual actions and their individual choices and the things that that individual chooses to say. All right, there is nobody who represents me. There is no group that represents me aside from, I'm the only person who represents me. All right, and my actions and words and morals will speak for themselves. And I hope that you can all recognize that too, that you are more than a stereotype, that you are more than what the worst of us is. I'm preaching, I'm rambling, but I need people to realize that there's more to us than meets the eye. Don't judge a book by its cover. All right, just advice for everybody else. But again, you can think about me whatever you want. It is not my problem. No matter how wrong it is not my issue. If you have the wrong assumption of me. So, number 2, I'm not responsible for the actions of people close to me. Generally, that is true. But now that I am a parent, I am responsible for one other person's actions aside from my own, and that is my child's, because I am raising them to be a socially acceptable human being. All right, I'm doing what I can. I'm trying to raise my son to do things. So if he acts out bad, then obviously he's seeing something that I'm doing that makes him think that's okay. And I have to change that. But otherwise, like friends, family, if they do something, that's on them. That is on them. And I love my brother dearly, but if my brother screws up at work, and this is just an example, but if my brother does something bad at work, it's not my problem. Like it's not my fault. I had nothing to do with that. And I'm just saying that, not that he really screws up much at work or does anything seriously bad enough to warrant that, but I'm using an example because I work with my brother in some sense, but his actions are not my responsibility, and vice versa. If I screw up bad, my screw up is not his responsibility or emotional, requirement to deal with. It's not his burden. So actions of people close to us are not our problem. And the number 1 is I am not responsible for other people's bad life choices. All right, I am not responsible for that. Bad financial choices, bad health choices. I want to help people. I want to see those people do well, but also they have to recognize that they're going to pull themselves out. They are the only ones who can pull themselves out of whatever situation. There is no amount of money that I can give somebody struggling that's going to change the way that they function, the way that they operate. If I'm going out to dinner with somebody, I'm buying dinner all the time because they can't afford it, then I'm not helping them out. I'm only hurting my own financial situation by doing it. And while it's a kind gesture, if you can't afford to go out and eat, you can't eat. You have to, if you want to go out and eat, have a nice meal or have nice life experiences, you got to work and earn that shit. So, again, going back to the car thing, if you chose not to drive, I'm not on your time. I earn my car. I pay for my vehicle. I pay a lot of money for my vehicle between the lease and insurance and gas. No freebies here. No freebies here. Sorry about it. I can't be expected to help everybody out. And like it sounds cruel. Going back to the beginning of this video, it sounds cruel and awful, but I got to take care of numero uno because nobody else is going to take care of me. I recognize that. I realize that. But there it is, everybody. That is the 10 things that are not my problem. All right, the not my problem list. I hope you've seen this and accepted it for what it is, because it is a harsh truth. We are all so emotionally connected. We are taught to think alike and like think in like almost like a hive mind mentality. But there's just some people who cannot be helped. All right, and even if you do help them, they have to accept the help and learn to grow themselves, or they will never, ever, ever be self-sufficient or self-dependent. But that is it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I know this is a little bit of a heavier topic, but I'm glad you sat through it if you did. We'll be back on Friday, and we'll see where the week takes us. Till next time, do you even list?